absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. Right, hi guys,
Hi,
we're back.
guys.
So
Right.
Richard and Abby
Abby.
over there, and we are
No ideas.
没想法 channel.
Cool.
So you'll probably see today that I'm drinking, but Abby's not. So
Yeah, I
that's
drink coffee.
Why
I'm a
is that?
coffee holic. Because I drive car today.
Aha, yeah.
That's
So she
why.
has to drive, and in Taiwan, if you don't know, not that many people drive, I think, right? Many people don't.
Depends on the area.
Sure.
Depends on the city.
I think
Yeah.
my girlfriend's mom, she can drive. She has a license, but I don't think she really knows how. And my girlfriend has a
Yeah.
license, but can't really drive too well.
Oh, because there's no opportunities in Taipei to drive a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And last week we missed because we had a long weekend, and again the driving was crazy, right? So you didn't drive, but I did. The traffic
Yeah.
was horrendous.
The traffic. Oh, I wanted to drive, but I'm only one person in the car, so I couldn't get on the highway.
Yeah, so we had two people. We also couldn't get on, so we
Yeah,
left
yeah.
at 5:30. We were on the road at
Oh,
5:30 last
But
week.
you're smart. You at least you find it. I forgot it totally. I drive to the
Oh, so you tried, but then
I
you
tried. I already drive to the highway and stopped by the police. I say, hey, you can go on. I say, oh my god! But I already have a date on
yeah.
on another city, so I transferred to like a public transportation, high speed
I see.
train.
Yeah, we got screwed by the girl on Google Maps because we went on the number 1 highway,
Yeah.
and then it wanted us to get on the number 3, but you have to get off the number 1 and on the number 3. So when
Yeah.
we tried to get back onto the number 3, no, sorry, 2 people in the car, and then we had to take the back mountain roads for ages. So it's really confusing. So we did a good job. We remembered the first one, but we should have just got on the number 3 from the beginning, and we didn't know. So yeah.
At the time you thinks there is Google Maps when you change the
Hey, that girl
locking.
gets me lost a lot. Turn left, turn right, continue straight.
Three
hell?
kinds of order in the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard about
Right.
some people who have like Tesla auto drive or something, and the thing went off in the wrong direction and they got lost somewhere and
Yeah.
ran out of fuel. I don't know if it was Tesla or if it was Google, but I've heard a story where someone went on a wrong road and they got into like the desert, and then the fuel ran out
Right.
and there was no cell phone signal.
Oh my
All
god.
because the Google Maps girl said turn left, and then the person, like an idiot, drove for like 200 kilometers going in the wrong direction. So
Okay. Did you
Yeah.
figure?
bit dangerous, right?
Publicly.
So you have to get
Yeah.
this new habit of driving because you only got the car recently, right?
Yeah, I got a car recently. I think I have to train my brain because I used to take public transportation. So how I react to my travel or all lots of plan, I was spontaneous to think about like using motorcycle or train or high speed rail anyway. So when I get car, I seldom drive it. And I figure out because I don't know where I can go.
And
But-
also where you can park.
Huh?
Where you can park as well.
Yeah.
And in Taiwan, it's crazy.
But I think it's kind of a habit that I can create because
Sure.
it's not that hard. Lots of people drive cars to everywhere. So
Actually, I think most people drive their cars to work and back, the people who do drive. But
really? But I think once I get a car, it means I have more options and choice. So I could do that more. Just so
got to take a day off. Don't go on a public holiday.
yeah.
Sure. Anyway, so yeah, it was a good little introduction there. But I wanted to ask you a little bit of a question, like a bit of a strange one, but do
Yeah.
you trust the media?
The media? Not really. I would doubt the information they gave us.
Okay. And I was actually looking earlier, so just for all the people out there,
Yeah.
the media trust, like earlier this year in America, was 29%. Can you believe it? 29%. And I also looked a little bit back in the past. And do you know Watergate?
Yeah.
Watergate, like
no.
President Nixon in America, he
Right.
like did some bad stuff and they caught him.
Right.
At that point in time, trust in the media was 79%. Well, no, sorry, 72%.
Oh,
So we've gone from 72% all the way down to 29%. What do you think about that?
right. I know before, like a journalist, they will try to dig some news, like people don't know, maybe some dirty news or maybe some interesting
Like investigative journalism.
investigation. Yeah, investigate it. So, but right now, since the journalists are lazy, so for my opinion, I think they are a little bit lazy. So they try to copy others' opinions,
Okay.
as
Do you think
theirs,
it's really that they're lazy?
or they just want more clicks, more attention. So they try to, um, like editing some materials. Like they think people will like it and will catch their eyeball.
Okay. So, I mean, where do you think this came from? There's this idea about clicks. Because I was talking
Since-
about this with someone. So maybe what we can do is we can go back in time a little bit. So, how did people get their news in the past? So let's go back before radio, TV, all of that. It was newspapers, right?
Yeah,
Okay. And then,
newspaper, radio.
so if we think about the newspaper time, what do you think that looked like for the average person? Like, how often do you think a person got a newspaper? Do you think lots of people read the newspaper? What do you think?
Oh, I think they will read the newspaper every day because that's a way to connect to the world.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I think a
that's
lot
where
of
you get
people
information.
have this assumption, right? We think that at that point the news was pretty good and pretty honest
Decent.
and all of that.
Yeah.
But I've started questioning this. I mean, think about it. Like you just said that at that point in time, people would read the newspaper every day. Where'd the news come from? If they were making a newspaper every single day,
Right.
where did they get the news? How much international news was there? How much local news? What were the sources of that information? So what do you think?
I think they will send lots of journalists into different section, and they have their own job to find out the area's news.
Okay.
And yeah, then
So you think it was a lot of local stuff?
yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean,
yeah.
it was hard to fly, international phone calls. I don't think there were telephones at the time we're talking about. So there was no way to phone. So where did they get international news from?
Where did I get? At the time.
It's an interesting question, right? So I was talking
at the
about this
time.
with someone, and if you think about it, at that point in time, any international news was probably shared. You'd probably find the same piece of news in all the newspapers because there just wasn't that much international news.
Yeah, because they probably only send some people in to oversee and send the message through telecom.
Well, at that time we're talking, there was no tele anything.
Oh,
So then if you think
old.
about it, let's say a country went to war. When you found out about it, how long was that?
maybe I don't know, maybe years.
Maybe years, maybe a few months, maybe possibly a few weeks, depending on the distance, right?
Yeah, right.
And if you think about that, I mean, the news cycle was really, really long. Like a piece of news, like a country going to war, would stick around for a few months as everybody learned about it. But there wasn't this quick news cycle where there was a lot of stuff. So then if we're saying most of that news was local, I'm sure there was a lot of news about somebody lost their cat or somebody opened a business, and you'd be in the news because
Right.
otherwise what news was there? You run out of news, especially if you're making newspapers every day.
Yeah.
You're going to run out of news.
Right.
So then I think we can say that at the time we're talking about now, like newspapers possibly happened every day, came out every day, maybe wasn't every day, but there wasn't really that much news. It was much more localized, much more personal, and much
Right.
less international news.
Right.
All right. And where'd it go from there?
You
So
mean-
then once whatever, so we did telegrams came around, you could share news more, and then radio I think was the next big one.
Yeah. Right.
And
I
that
think-
changed the news cycle completely, right?
Right. You can spread the news more instant. You can like in a short time, and you can spread to more people.
Okay, so that was
Okay.
when probably more international news started coming out, right?
Right.
How do you think the newspapers reacted to radio? Do you think it was a threat or
Maybe as a threat. at
little
the
bit,
beginning.
right?
A little bit.
Yeah, but people still read the paper a lot.
Because it's
and-
different. Still have a different characteristics. Newspaper you can have pictures, but radio you couldn't.
Sure.
Just for voice.
But I think most people listening have no idea that in the past, like our parents and stuff would actually sit together around the radio, and all just listen to the radio. I know my mom talks about that with me. So it was a very different world. You got that news. But my question, let's keep it at the radio point there. Why do we think the news was good quality then? I think we romanticize the past. We think it was so good. But how do we know that what they said at that point was factual? I think everybody who listened to the radio just believed 100%. That's the news. We believe it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
But was anybody fact-checking, verifying?
No. Well,
Probably not, right?
yeah. Just trust it.
So it was this blind trust by the public that wasn't really earned. People just gave them their trust because they thought, well, that's the news. Interesting, right?
Okay. Because I think because they don't have another resource to get the information, so it couldn't like compare or to judge. They don't have a resource to get more different sides.
So then the question is, like, I mean, how can we trust the news from back then? Or what about the textbooks you read at school about history from that point in time? How do we really know that any of that stuff is real? I mean, I'm sure you've heard the thing about, like, history is written by the winners. So how do we know that that stuff back then was true? How do we know the international news was true?
That's true. Even though the old generation people trust the radio and newspaper, but it doesn't mean
It was trustworthy.
it is right or is the truth.
Sure.
Just because they may be like
how would you
edited
know,
by
right?
coverage and edited by government. You don't know.
So I mean,
They brainwash you.
and how do we know that the news companies weren't being controlled or used by the government or somebody else to do something? You would never have known because there was no way to fact check, right?
Yeah.
And so then if we keep going with history, what happened next? So we had radio, then I suppose television came. But
Yeah, television.
when you were young, how many news channels were there?
3, like since I was very young, there
Okay.
are only 3 television.
Yeah, in South Africa,
So-
we had 4 TV channels when I was growing
channels,
up. Like
yeah.
4, literally. It was like terrible, right? So at that point, we started getting TV news, but it wasn't very international, I think.
Yeah,
Probably
still focused on-
similar to radio initially. And probably also a threat to radio. But probably it was a bigger threat to radio than to newspapers.
Yeah.
Because it's still voice, but also with pictures, like you said. So
combine the
TV would
newspaper.
threaten radio probably more than TV would threaten
Yeah,
newspapers.
yeah,
Although it would
right.
still threaten newspapers.
Yeah, newspaper is the one you can grab and
And
take
read
to on the road to the office to
Sit in the
everywhere.
toilet.
Yeah, sit on the toilet everywhere.
You know, my dad every morning sits in the toilet for an hour and reads a paper. But he's like old. He's in his 80s, so he comes from that time. But that's his daily thing.
Smell-
Sit in the
smell like
toilet,
good.
have a long poo, and read the paper, kind of thing.
Lots of people's daily routine.
Yeah, I can't do that. So I want to get in, get out, and do my own thing. So anyway, all right. So when we get to the point with TV, and then I think it was in the 90s when the Iraq War happened, where you started getting this like on the ground reporting from other countries,
Okay,
and that started really getting going around that time.
since Iraq War.
I think it was around the 90s.
Why? Oh, is it okay? It's during the time.
During that time, yes. It happened, I remember when I was a kid, like in 92, when the first Iraq War, around that time, and we started getting live pictures from the war, where like a reporter was live in Iraq and broadcasting, and it was on the news. And you started getting this very, very quick news cycle where something happened and you heard about it pretty quickly.
Right.
And then I think the other one that happened was, do you know O.J. Simpson? O.J. Simpson, he was a famous football player in America, the Garnacho kind of football. And he killed his girlfriend, Nicole Brown, I think her name was, something like that. And he was also an actor. and he had a high-speed car chase, I think, with the police. And I think that was one of the first times where like the police with the helicopters were following the car and watching this guy run away from the police. And then his trial was put on TV. I think it was one of the first big court cases that happened live and you saw it on TV.
Okay. You mean let's like kind of first footage or milestone for the TV, for the news?
I think so. I mean, look, I could be wrong.
Yeah. You can live and report the chasing.
Yeah.
Process.
Sure. So I think it was, you can correct me, anybody, if I'm wrong, but yeah, I think it was partly in the 90s, was partly the Iraq War. It was also like things like the O.J. Simpson thing happened. And the news cycle just kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
More quick, more instant. And
then after that, I think it just mushroomed, right? All of a sudden, there are lots of news channels all doing this kind of reporting. So back to our question, like, where did this click thing come from? Because after that it was the internet, and I think the internet challenged radio, well, not radio so much, but challenged TV. And really challenged newspapers.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden you can write an article, you can write, I can write, anybody can write an article, you can put it online, and if it's a good article, or maybe good is not the word, but if it gets a lot of attention, all of a sudden people start clicking on it.
Like everyone have a power to write something. Everyone was a journalist, and you can put it online, and all people can reach it.
Sure. And how do you make money? Well, advertisers advertise on the page, and if people click and directs them to the page,
same
you
as
get
newspaper,
money.
right?
So when we talk about journalists being lazy, is it true? Or are these people just adapting to the threat that the internet posed to news, and they're just operating in that paradigm? They're operating in that environment where clicks are important. So if clicks are important, my actions are going to be to get clicks. It's not because I want to do that. It's because I'm being forced to do that.
Oh, yeah. This is their goal, their target, to get more clicks so they can earn money.
And then that's why things have become so bad now. Well, we feel that things are so bad because you could read an article and rewrite that same article if it's new, and put some shock content in, and your second article that copied the first one gets way more clicks because you're a better writer. But what have you done? You just copied someone else's work.
Yeah, you don't have to do the real valuable news or get more information. You don't have to do that. You also can get more clicks.
You can get money.
Yeah,
so then if I were an investor, why would I invest money paying you to travel to another country to do great investigative journalism and find the real truth?
Yeah, spend money.
Abby, here's an article. It's very new. Use your great writing skills to just make something salacious or something like really cool that's shock content, and all of a sudden we'll get clicks. Why would I want to send you somewhere and pay all that money for you to do that when I can just ask you to rewrite someone else's article?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Makes sense, right? So if you think about it, like, this whole media thing has really changed. I don't know if it's the journalists the problem or it's their reaction.
Okay. And I think, it's like a vicious cycle. Once they get it, people don't really trust the news, and they will try to find another source like social media or anything on the internet. But
then social media is just what? Like articles that get recycled onto social media, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's just it's another platform for it.
Yeah, because before like social media is new, it's like a new word. Some people have their own opinion. They will post something, so it seems really valuable. And then it were like covered by all the commercial things, so it's kind of another news as well. So it's kind of, there's something new and people chasing it, and it dropped, and people chasing another news, new platform.
Sure. So my question that I asked you right at the beginning, I said to you, like, do you trust the media? And you said not really.
Yeah.
So do we think that the media today is more or less honest than the past?
Okay.
It's interesting, right? Because I think initially you would have said, it's definitely less honest now.
No, I think maybe it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, I
just
agree,
like,
yes.
but it just like people have the awareness, they can like make their own judge.
I think it's not so much the awareness of making their own judgments, it's the ability to fact check. It's the internet. Because now if you read something, you can go online and you can check it and you can read 20 articles.
Yeah, right.
Or you can find scientific studies done about the virus or about a medicine, and you can read with your own eyes and check something. Whereas go back just like 20 years, if you saw something on the news, how would you fact check it?
Yeah, and you don't have the ability
So
some
all these
resource.
people in the past had this like get out of jail free card, right? I mean, they could write or go on the news and say whatever, and people would believe them because they had no way to check them. So many people think that we're living in such a terrible time with the media now. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're living in a great time because we're at that turning point where now people have got the power,
All right.
and they're not going to ban the internet.
But maybe they couldn't ban.
Do you think they'll try to ban the internet?
They couldn't, but they can ban some narrative. Okay,
Sure, but how,
censor
that's a good point. So let's talk about that. How do they ban those narratives? Through Twitter?
Like Twitter,
through
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big more largest platform for people to get information, and people are seldom to watch another platform. So,
you think that's true?
Not really, but I think most people will the big companies' platform are their first priority.
Sure. So then I would ask, because I'm sure many people can agree that in today's world, we have this thing called being red-pilled or black-pilled or whatever. Let's say there's a person who sees some kind of inconsistency with the media. So for a long time, like for me, for years, my ex-wife complained because I just watched CNN all the time. And the turning point for me came when I actually checked and saw some of the stuff and said, wait, that's a lie. And when I saw enough lies, I don't watch CNN anymore. And that led me down a path of changing to a different channel, and then you start doing more research, you start seeing more lies. So let's say it's not me, but for anybody, once you see that you're being lied to, what's the reaction?
Like you don't really trust them 100%. You want to fact check anyway.
And do you ever go back to just blindly trusting them?
Go back and
do you ever go back and just say, okay, I'm going to trust CNN again? Like for me, do you think I'd go back and just watch CNN?
No, it's hard to go back once the trust broke.
So this is a one-way street. Once you see that you can't trust the media, you're not going back.
Right, but I think there's another challenge today. It's like people. For me, I feel really confused because too many information, different kind of information. That you have to train your capability to figure out, or not figure out, or just like you have to digest all the data, all the information, and make your own opinion.
Sure. So let's just go back. So it's a one-way street. I think that we'll get to what you were saying, in a few sentences, right? Because so we're saying it's a one-way street. That once you see you can't really trust the media, you're not going to go back. Right. You're not going to go back and just start trusting them. So over time, because they do lie, we've seen this. More and more people go down that one-way street and won't go back. So it makes sense that you're going to start building a critical mass of people who don't trust the media. And then we get to what you were just saying. So you just said that you need to discern. You need to start checking where you're going to get your media from. You're going to find, I think what you're saying is you're going to look for a source you can trust. Because
I still want to move forward. Because if I don't trust the news or the information, but I still have to take action, sure. Right?
100%.
So how do I do?
Okay.
I have to find another information for me as a reference, but I couldn't find. And then I find too many information different ways.
Sure, but haven't you found certain places where you go more often and you start trusting?
Right.
For me, I've got a few I'll mention. Like one is Zero Hedge.
Zero Hedge.
So I read Zero Hedge a lot.
Yeah.
And I try to fact check it. And what I like is in the articles they'll often put in blue writing links you can click.
Yeah.
So whenever they say something, they show where the numbers come from.
Right.
That's my first check. The second one is that I read that and then I discuss with you and with other people things. And often when I discuss things with you or other people, they've never heard this before. And 1 or 2 weeks later, then people are talking about it. So I'm like, hey, this thing became true. I've seen them talk about things, and at that point in time, no one believes it. But 3 months later, it's true. So for me, I've learned that I can trust them most of the time. But when I start seeing them write stuff and then it doesn't come true, or I find out it's not real, I'll stop trusting them. So surely for a site like that, they have to try their best to do a good job, because if they don't, people like me are going to leave. See, that to me is the free market. Okay, so they are doing a good job. Another one is Tim Pool. So I love watching Tim Pool. In fact, when I have my breakfast, when I have my breakfast, I watch Tim Pool every day because they have this like real life one. And because I see them doing balanced content, I see some of the guests he has on are people he doesn't always agree with. I don't agree with everything, but I have learned to trust that would be another source. And so as you said, you've got to try and find this right source. For the first time in my life, I'm paying for the news intentionally. I joined the Tim Pool membership thing. It cost $10 a month. And why did I do that? Because I'm now choosing where to get the news that I've found is trustworthy from a trustworthy source.
Right.
And isn't that wonderful? Isn't it wonderful that now I have the ability to fact check the mainstream media? That was never possible for humans before. Now I can fact check it. Plus, you said that they're censoring. They can't censor Tim Pool's site. That's a private site. It's what these people say, oh, they're private companies, so make your own. People are making their own. So for me, I think Twitter is going to go down. As we said, it's a one-way street. More and more people are going to see the censorship. And as you see the censorship, you're going to start searching for stuff you believe you can trust. And as you find it, you're going to start putting your money or your attention on there.
Yeah, I like what you say. It's like a free market. They are the products, and you can check their quality when you just use it, or not just it's their service, and you check their quality. It's really good. You were not easy to change on the news because it takes time to like learn and to fact check it.
Sure, and that's the thing. So you said journalists were lazy, which maybe is true, but I think in general a lot of people are lazy.
It will cut it off. If they are lazy, they are not do a good job. When the time goes.
Sure, but the people who are lazy, or the people who just believe what they see, if they just watch CNN all the time. I was one of them. I did that. I just believed it. But as we said, it's a one-way street. So you see you can't trust it. You start becoming less lazy. You start fact-checking. I will always fact-check now.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then that puts the burden on those sites. So when I see Tim Pool and them, if I start to see, because they've now started to employ reporters to do articles, which I've started reading. When I start seeing that the stuff they're talking about isn't true or doesn't happen, I'll cancel my membership. Free market.
Right.
So I was thinking for a long time, like, we're living in a shitty time now. Like you can't trust the news and everything's bad. But I've started to become a lot more hopeful. Because actually, if you go back and you look at like we did at the history, we're actually living in a good time because we can fact check. And if they want to cause a revolution, the people in power, try and cancel the internet. People will lose their shit. They can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Like we have more ability to fact check and to choose,
and to talk like we're doing now.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
yes,
let other
we're
people
using
to
YouTube.
listen.
Sure, but then if you get popular, people like your content on YouTube, then you can do what Tim Pool and them do because they have a members segment and they do the regular YouTube one, and then afterwards they do a segment that's only available on their platform where they talk about all the things YouTube won't let them talk about, which is another topic, but which is bullshit. But it gives you the ability, and more people, I think, from watching Tim Pool a lot, the one thing I noticed was that he was quite surprised by how many people joined. And I think that there is this hunger from people, to hear the truth. And that's going to drive economics. And people are going to vote with their money and their attention. And the new one I've learned now, like, I don't like this woke stuff. So for me, if I'm watching on Netflix, I'm watching some show and I see that the message behind the show is some ultra feminism woke stuff, I make sure to change the channel or turn it off because they see that. They see when people stop watching.
Oh, you mean they can observe people's behavior?
Yeah. So, they say that Facebook's free, but it's not free because what is the product? You are the product. I'm the product.
Right, right.
That's going to change, I think, because now I know I'm the product. So I give my attention to them and I send them a message when I change my attention. So you want to keep producing woke shit, you're going to see me turn it off. If I turn it off enough times, I'm going to cancel my Netflix.
Oh, so they will make some change.
So they thought they were smart, that people didn't know they were the product. But now we know we're the product. Now people are going to start intentionally moving their attention. So like BBC is full of shit. A lot of the time, and I see stuff that's not true. So I never just leave BBC on that much now. I realize it's on and I'll change a channel. Say, look, if I see some of these crazy commercials that are like super woke bullshit, I change a channel. It's my message to them.
It's a message to tell them.
And if enough people do this, we'll create that change. But why can we do this? Because of the internet, because we have this ability to fact check, to find out that they're lying. And I'm telling you, like you said, they've been lying to people for a long time. It's just now we finally can see that they're full of shit.
Oh, right.
And we will win this thing. Because we talked about a one-way street. As these people who just blindly believe... Like, did you see Nicki Minaj recently?
Oh, the vaccine.
Yeah.
Cassie.
So, like, how many of her followers were woken up because she told everyone, said, look, they're lying about me. How many people in that moment said, look, blatantly, you can see the news is lying about this person that we like. And in that moment, how many, just a small percentage of those people realized that, look, the media is not truthful. They start going down that road and they don't come back. No. Eventually, no one will trust the mainstream media anymore. Must be. It had to get to a point like that. And that's when we will have the power. And then, just like I think what I'm doing now, more and more people will do, which is to put your money onto platforms that you know are doing a good job. And the free market will win in the end.
Yeah, like we have choice.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we have, like CN has a financial problem, I think. So, because their market is transferred to the social media or other platform. So I think it's a sign, like people have their choice. If you don't like provide the good quality news, then you will drop.
Sure, but before no one could provide news, right?
Before, like they don't have any enemies or any competition.
Yeah.
So it's safe for them, like very comfortable.
Sure. And there's another channel I like to watch, a guy called Luke. Does
Luke?
We Are Change. I can't say his name, Luke Grakowski or something. And he has a channel called We Are Change. And he's done exactly the same thing. He's also got a website where you can pay to hear stuff that they won't allow on YouTube. There's another guy, Dr. Chris Martinson, who talks about the vaccine and the virus. He's also got a paid site. So that's at least 3 I've seen now. That's the way it's going. People are going to pay to go to somewhere where they can get honest, where they feel they're getting the truth. And that's going to kill these media companies.
Right.
And that's the free market.
Like
wonderful.
Like I'm watching a Chinese YouTuber's news. What he's doing is really like the mainstream media. They will report the news and analysis. Most of time he analysis about United States, China, and Taiwan. How's the political situation? And I like to watch him over than other mainstream media because he brings data, information, and with logic, and you can learn a lot, and not only the information but about the thinking process.
Sure.
So, I can watch him for like an hour a day.
Yeah, that's me and the Tim Pool thing. Yeah.
So right now I think I'm very happy to find one that I can accept and I can trust in more
Sure.
and more.
But this is one of those, who was it? Was it Einstein or Newton or someone? For every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reaction, right? You can't keep lying to people. If you keep lying to people, they're going to vote with their attention, with their money. They're going to find somewhere else. And at least now there are places to go. And, you know, Twitter and YouTube and all of them have screwed themselves because they went down this crazy censorship road. And sure, and then they shut down Parler. You remember when they shut down Parler?
Yeah.
So they shut down. They said, look, we're private companies. If you guys want your own site, start it. People did, and then they shut it down. So now people need a new outlet, a new place to find their news. So now a whole lot of people have all started small individual ones.
Yeah.
Now, how do you shut all of those down?
Yeah. People will find out another way.
Sure. So that's the wonderful thing about this, is that people are going to pay, people are going to move, and these big like powers are going to lose their power. So yeah, so I've had a journey with this. Like, I was really like negative, the news is so shit today, blah blah blah. But actually, no.
It's hopeful.
There is definitely hope, and it's from the market.